Hey guys, I am so grateful and so blessed that you're here back again listening to this podcast. Originally, Tender After Tough, I decided to rebrand this year, come up with a podcast name that I wouldn't try to change next year. And I've come up to a bunch of lists. Originally I wanted Love Dixie, the podcast, but then it quite didn't make sense to what my goal is. So I said, okay, well, why not try doing Wednesdays with Dixie? Because Wednesdays are mostly one of my days off and a school day for me, obviously. And instead of uploading my podcasts on a Saturday, because Saturdays are obviously one of my busiest days, why not do it on a chill day, which I've only got school, and I've decided why not go with Wednesdays with Dixie. And thank you so much for having creating time to listen to this. You might be on the train, on public transportation listening to it, or you might as well be on your day off listening to this one. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much. On today's episode, we would be talking about how do you define pleasure? And it's not what you think it is. So self-discipline is a trophy that came from small habits, whereas small habits are medals that came from fixing your issues on guilty pleasure. Let's try and unwrap those never talked about emotions, those things hidden inside you that scares you when one day you just explode. Have you ever had that feeling where you try to sit back, do nothing, go on and just go on a vacation to have a good day or a good time, and then you just can't seem to relax? Going on that vacation, you're just agitated and all of these things. You worry too much. Let me try if I can read that right. In your early childhood, trust me when I say everything that you may want to understand comes from understanding what you've been through when you were a child. And that's not a bad thing either. It's a good thing to try to understand your emotions, your mental capacity. Our parents are also trying to navigate their way on how to be parents this very day. I mean, they were once a child, an adult, a teenager before they became our parents. Anyway, back to the point. In your early childhood, or somewhere along those lines of your early childhood, teenager, or adulthood, when you are trying to relax, you're probably just being on your phone, sitting on the couch, lying in your bed, just watching TV or playing video games. And then when someone tries to come in or walk in the same room that you're in, your brain just naturally gets that alert to do something, because you don't want to be seen by that someone who walked into the room doing nothing. You just don't want to be caught dead doing nothing. Probably because you think that when someone saw you doing nothing or just trying to relax, even though you've done your best for the day, they're going to point out something that wasn't done, though you know that you're going to tend to that task later on. You're just trying to sit back, have a break, because you deserve that break. Then what they pointed out then becomes a task that you would do for them because they told you to do it, rather than a task that you wanted to do for yourself originally, to feel like you've accomplished everything on your to-do list on that very day, just to feel like you were productive enough on that day. So then relaxing is never on your to-do list at this point, because you don't know how to rest or give yourself a break. And 100% of the time, people who like experience such things would rather live alone. Because if they're overstimulated, overstressed, overworked, at least they wouldn't think of anybody else but to lie in their bed or like relax when they get home. But by this time, it's too late because the stress that they feel when they're trying to relax, it became a natural character. It became an invisible tail that it's just really hard to cut off. So then when you're trying to relax, both your brain and body reaction is then wired to being stressed, overstimulated. That then became your normal habitat. That became your civilization. And that's what we want to work on in order to enjoy the principle of doing nothing. The privilege of doing nothing. Let's say maybe you're burned out. Let's try that. So you come home, you try to like eat cereal out of the box, watch Netflix in your pajamas, and not shower for 3 days. Being burnt out and doing that is a completely different thing to pleasure or relaxing. The after effect of being burnt out is you trying to decompress from work, from home, and your social life, but your brain is still wired to these 3 major factors: home, work, and social life. You're still thinking about it. You're still stressing over it. All your negative thoughts are thrown into these 3 literal factors. You try to move away from it. The solution that you've got for yourself because you're burnt out is you try to move away from it for a little while before feeding yourself to the sharks again. And most likely, a lot of you would choose going on a vacation because you live in the belief that maybe being in a new environment would likely get your mind off of things for a little while. I personally believe it's a good reasoning because sometimes it works. Like, it really does work. It would give you much more time to think through, giving a little bit more time for you to be able to come up with a reasonable solution when you get back and fix things, rather than being impulsive. Most of the time you come home from a trip and you feel much more exhausted than you wish you've never gone on that vacation because you don't want this stress when you come back. And let's try to understand why you feel more exhausted than ever, because you feel more exhausted due to the reason that your present on that vacation is wired to the present of what you've moved away from. If that makes sense, let's try and break that down. For example, you're having a spa, but you're feeling guilty having a spa because you're thinking whatever goes wrong to what you've moved away from is automatically your fault, because you think that you're so self-indulged that you don't deserve this kind of luxury because other people are like doing your job. Picture yourself, say 5 years from now, and ask yourself this question: do you really see yourself living a life so stressful and chaotic and thrive in it? Do you want to feel that exhaustion every single day for the rest of that 5 years? If your answer is no, that pretty much sums up what you need to work on. If you said yes, bless your heart for being so courageous, but do me another favor. In that 5 years of thriving, how many nights have you cried yourself to sleep and begged someone to fix you because you do not know what's wrong with you? How's that looking like for you so far? Thriving in that environment might be your comfort zone. And that's fine. Like, thrive in that for as long as you want. But I just wanted to let you know that nobody ever grows and glows inside of their comfort zone. At some point, everybody has to experience different levels of chaos, different levels of friendships, social life, different levels of social life, different levels of life in general. And all you have to do is to have an open mind about it. Like, have an open mind through those experiences. Allow yourself to view things from different perspective to improve yourself. You're working on a better version of yourself, not because you want people to like you, but because you don't want to be the same person that you were 5 years ago. And you would learn that growing up. You would meet people that would make you feel grateful, that would humble you, because not a lot of people had the privilege to learn basic human decency. And it's a real thing. It's a fact. These experiences would help you determine what circle you don't want to belong to, what circle you would want to put yourself. If I heard this advice, improve yourself and work on your self-esteem 5 years ago, I would probably say like, what the fuck are you? I would probably say like, what are you talking about? Because everything within my comfort zone just made total sense until it didn't. Let's expand that improving yourself and improving your self-esteem for a second. The art of doing nothing is simply enjoying pleasure or leisure or relaxation, as what you want to call it. The beauty of doing nothing is the goal of all your work. This is your final accomplishment where you pat yourself on the back. You don't need to be rich to experience this either. You just need to be happy. Your happiness is personal. But I'm going to give you a perspective. Let's turn a simple ingredient into a feast. Does that make sense? On the A side, a feast is composed of food. But on the B side, to make that feast possible, without the perfect ingredient being people, the consumer of the A side. Without the perfect ingredient, a feast would not be possible. So let's try making a bowl of salad and then just making like a fresh bread on the side. And then gather all of your friends to sit and chat and just have this little meal prepared by you in front of everybody to make a festival. That is shifting a perspective. You turned a simple ingredient into a feast just because you've gathered people to come and sit with you and talk to you and, share things that you haven't shared for a while. That you made a feast. You made a festival out of a bowl of salad and a bread. Majority of us feel like enjoying is the equivalent of guilt. Fun fact. Hence the word guilty pleasure. We feel like we didn't earn it. This is where the mindset, I am too happy today, something bad is gonna happen the next few days. That mindset would literally suck you in. And you looking forward to the next bad thing, it's most likely going to happen because you're putting your energy into that. You're waiting for it to happen. Your energy is just like pulling those specifics that you've looked forward when you were enjoying yourself. That small feeling or wired mindset would one day hinder you into enjoying your big moments, say your engagement, your wedding, your 30th birthday even, Christmas, holidays, something like that. The list, I could go on and on and on about that list. And when you ask yourself, do I really deserve this? That right there is insecurity, is your insecurity of earned happiness. When someone tells you you're worth it, you deserve a break, you deserve the biggest break today, your reaction would be, am I really? I'd have like a bottle of wine or two. Later, you feel bad for celebrating yourself. As a human being, you're entitled to enjoy this life. You deserve a break. Claim that you deserve that break. Like, yeah, of course, I deserve this break. I'm planning on maybe going to a friend's house to celebrate myself, or maybe cooking a steak for me to enjoy myself, or watching movie at home all by myself because I deserve this big break. I deserve this small break. I've earned it. Like, claim those energy, because those small habit of claiming it, just it goes a long way. Small habits goes a long way. Let's break things down to starting the smallest habits. In the next 7 days, let's work on your self-discipline. Train your body to wake up an hour before your usual wake-up call. In this hour, do your usual morning routine, like brushing your teeth, fixing your bed, drinking your water. Do not eat breakfast yet. Just the usual before you eat. Stretch for a little bit just to awaken your body. And when your body is fully awake, set a timer for at least full 15 minutes. Read any self-help book that is accessible to you. It might be a book, a physical book would be nice, but if you don't have it, that's fine. You can just find anything online. Like, read that, or listen to any self-help podcast for like 15 minutes. And when you're on your phone, I don't want you to go anywhere else except solely focusing your 15 minutes in this self-help books or self-help podcasts until the timer goes off. And then after your 15 minutes, get a pen and a paper, a bullet form, essays, journal style. I want you to physically write down what you've learned, and I literally want you to handwrite it. I don't want you to put it on your notes. I don't want you writing the documents on your computer. I want you to write down your learning, because physically writing what you've learned, and this as your first task, well, aside from fixing your bed, this as your first task for the day, your subconscious would constantly remind you about what you wrote for the rest of the day. I think that's amazing. That's an amazing thing about the mind, because it works that way. Your subconscious, your brain is literally reading your handwriting, and then it's stored in your memory, and then your subconscious grasps this learning, puts it at the back of your head, and then you just don't know, during your busy days, you kind of just like remember it, which is a good thing. That's why I want you to write it down physically. I want you to handwrite it, because as I said, your subconscious is constantly reminding you that you've written something down, meaning it's important for the rest of the day. And this is the first task that you've done, meaning it's very important for the rest of the day for you. And then if you can't grab it wherever you're going, at least read through it maybe 3 times. It doesn't matter if it's just a one-time read. Just read through that note. And if this is not something that you're up to, you're just not that kind of person who would listen to a podcast or read a book, then go for a run. For 15 minutes, go for a run or for a walk, rather than reading. Because yes, ma'am, you can do that. You absolutely can go. But I want you to focus on small details, like while you're running or walking, like what was the road like? Was it rough? Was it rocky? Was it gray? Was it blue? Or what was the color of the house that you just passed by? Was it something beige, something cream? Was it a little bit of blue that has a little bit of green in it? You know what I mean? Like those little details, but make it really specific so that after your run, you could research on it. Or maybe take a picture of a flower that interests you, and then make a little research about it that after your 15 minutes. I just want you to write something down for that day. Or maybe write down about the smell of the morning, or how people are rushing, going, catching their public transportation because they might be late to work. If you don't want to do that either, I want you to sit down for 15 minutes. If you don't want to go for a run, go for a walk. If you don't want to do that 10K steps before you go about your day, I want you to just sit down for 15 minutes, think through things, and then I want you to write down the things that you're grateful for. The things that you appreciate the most, I want you to write that down, like 15 minutes, set a timer for 15 minutes and go through that. If you failed to wake up an hour before your wake up call, in between those 7 days, restart again, go back to day 1 until you familiarize yourself with this habit of waking up an hour before your wake up call to do a very small thing. Until you have that discipline to wake up an hour before, because if you've done it, because if you've trained yourself, those small habits can go a long way. Because if you train yourself, then you can train yourself to do something else, to do something bigger, to improve yourself. Because there's something bigger that you can do for yourself as well. I mean, small habits, small self-discipline, it goes a very, very, very long way. And to end this podcast, I want you to ask yourself, what is pleasure to you? How do you define pleasure? How do you define relaxation? How do you define doing nothing? What would you do to efficiently maximize the art of doing nothing? What would you do to maximize the art of pleasure? What do you do to maximize the art of relaxation? Give yourself the permission to explore these questions freely. What would you enjoy doing today? When you answer this question, I want you to do not for a second consider anyone else's agenda. Do not worry about any other obligations, because this is a self-specific question that I need you to focus on. When you finally came down to an answer, give yourself the executive authorization to enjoy yourself. Let that happiness inhabit every molecule of your body. So, if you've gone this far to this podcast, my DMs are very much open for that 7 days. I just want an update about that. Okay, just let me know, or if not, just, as I said, small habits go a long way. It all starts in self-discipline. So yeah, if you're someone who always has these guilty pleasures, oh my god, what are you doing? No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, Wednesdays with Dixie. I am so blessed and so grateful that you're all here and have gone this far. See you guys next week. Bye. Ciao, ciao.